All right. Just give me 1 second. Okay. Hi, everyone. Welcome to FMOD Talk. So for this talk, basically, I'm going to go over like how to integrate FMOD in your projects. I'm going to be using Unity just because most people use that. But code-wise, it should be pretty similar in what other engine you want to use. And also, the integration part of it is pretty easy. Like they have some like parts that they have like a walkthrough basically that pops up when you install FMOD. So what is FMOD? It is a software that you use to integrate and organize sounds in your game. And you can also use it to make adaptive music, which means like fading in layers of music, etc. According to what's happening in your game. So when you want to download FMOD, there's two different like parts. There's the actual integration into the engine, and then there's FMOD Studio, which is what you use to actually create things. So basically, you just want to go to fmod.com, hit download. You're gonna have to make a profile, but whatever. And then you want to download FMOD Studio for whatever computer you're using. And then you also want to download like FMOD for Unity or FMOD for Unreal. Or if you're really ambitious, you can also use this to directly like integrate it into an engine. For stuff like Godot, there are like community integrations that you can download on GitHub. But yeah. So once you download this FMOD for Unity thing and the studio, you want to first integrate it into Unity. So let me do that. Yeah. Oh. So here's a mostly empty project. I put in some code just to like examples, make some examples, but this is just like a red dot and a blue dot that can move around. Just like this, you know, and it's printing out the X distance and Y distance between them, just so that we can see stuff later. So FMOD has its own package, which is what you'll download down here. And so you want to go to package manager. You'll want to go to this plus up here and do add package from disk. And then you just select the thing that you downloaded. And then it'll appear here in my assets, and then you just hit import, and it will import a bunch of stuff into your project. And then it will load for a little bit. It'll throw some errors, but those will go away if you just quit and then restart. Yeah, so this is the setup wizard, which you can always bring back up. I believe there's one for Unity, for Unreal as well. Basically, it'll just ask you to do these automated tasks. If these are not checked, you can just like click on them, and then it'll just tell you like hit this button, and then it'll do it. This is linking, which I'll skip for now so that I can show you how to do it manually, because that has been an issue for me personally with like GCS projects before. This is replacing the listener. Basically, FMOD replaces the Unity built-in audio, so you just want to hit this button and it will replace that. Same with this. Yeah, and then this is important because if you don't do this part, then your programmers will get mad at you. Basically, if you're working in GitHub, there's this thing called a git ignore, which this is not in FMOD. Hold on. Not in GitHub. So like, for instance, here, there's this .git ignore, which will be hidden if you're on Mac. And you just want to copy paste all of this stuff into here. And this basically just makes it so that these like temporary files that get generated by the computer don't get committed onto GitHub, and that'll make people mad, rightfully so. And also, actually, wait, I'm gonna get into that later. So yeah, you just hit next, and you're done. It's inject. One thing you may want to do right away is go to edit settings and then, oh, wait, okay. Sorry, I need to show you how to actually integrate the project first. So once you're integrated in here, you want to go FMOD Studio, just do file new, make a new project. And this is what FMOD looks like. So you can save this wherever you want. I am going to save it into this talk. Generally, you should probably make like a new folder for it. One talk. And yeah, so this is FMOD. The way that FMOD works is basically there are these things called events, and these events can hold audio, call this test event, and they can play audio like a normal audio clip, but they can also like loop audio, do all sorts of things, contain multiple audio clips, contain other events, etc. But basically within the code, you are going to be firing off a single event whenever you want to play a sound, basically. So yeah, when you make an event, what you want to do, just so you don't forget, is right click and hit assign to bank and then hit master. Basically, banks are these things that organize all of the audio into your project into these bank files, which are like very compressed, and you can just put them into the file, into your Unity project. And that's where Unity will read all of the sound effects and everything from. And you can have multiple of them, which is why you have to assign them. But for the sake of like GCS projects, you probably just want one because it's mostly for like memory purposes, and we're not generally building enough sound effects to like make that an issue. If you are, I will be very impressed. Yeah, so over here it says click to add a new sheet. You can just click, and then there are 3 different options. I'm gonna start with an add timeline sheet. I don't know who of you are more experienced with like audio than programming, but this timeline sheet will look most familiar to you if you've worked in DAWs before. So you just want to right click somewhere and do add audio track, and then now it really looks like a DAW. You can just drag and drop audio into here, and we're going to start with just some music. Hey. All right. So this is some audio from Escape from Lab 8 made by my friend Nick. And right now it's just like, is there a way we can get audio through the speakers? I forgot to test it. Is it here? Or is it Crestron? Okay.
What does this sound like?
Yeah, okay. Also, if you change audio outputs while FMOD is open, it won't like that. So you just have to relaunch it. So yeah, now we just have music. And so when you fire off this event, it'll start at the very beginning. It'll play the music. This is pretty loud though. Let's not turn that down, I guess. On this? Yeah. Oh yeah, you're right. Haha, nice. See, you are telling me what I'm doing. Not that much. Yeah, and it just, plays the audio. It's pretty familiar. It looks like a DAW or digital audio workstation, like Ableton and stuff. Yeah, and down here you can add effects just like a DAW. You can add in, say, like an EQ, a limiter, etc. I'm gonna add in a multi-band EQ, and you can hear this, change as I move it around. If you're not like an audio person and you're mostly like worrying about the programming, you won't really have to deal with this part of it. Yeah. So this is all pretty like standard DAW stuff, but what makes FMOD special is that you can add parameters that you can control through code, and those parameters can affect different parts of your mixing, of your music, etc., real time. So if you look here, this is sort of like a graph, and the x-axis is time. You know, as you move to the right, the time that in your music changes, right? But what you can do in FMOD is you can add a new parameter just by going to this plus thing, add parameter sheet, new parameter. I will explain more about what I'm doing in a second. Let's call this distance. Okay, and now we have this other sheet where you can also move a playhead around. So if I hit play now, this thing won't move. You'll notice that up here, there's this thing called distance, and that's a variable that has a certain value to it. I set it to be from 0 to 1, and I set it to be continuous, which means it can like slide back and forth. It's not an integer. So what you can do with this is as the parameter moves back and forth, you can put audio on this to make it play, such as this. So if I'm playing, and then if I change the parameter to move over this, it will play. Yeah. So that's one thing that you can do, but something that might be cooler is that you can automate stuff on that track. So if you are familiar with audio software, you probably know what automation is, which is, wait, did I just delete that? Ooh, okay, I don't know what I did, but basically, if you aren't familiar with what automation is when you change the parameter, when you change some sort of effect over time. So if you right click on any of these knobs down here on your effects, I'm going to just click on the volume knob. You can do add automation, and then this line will appear. And basically you can just add in points on this line, and it will like slide between them to change the value of whatever it's automating. So if I hit play, it's really quiet. And then I made this too big. It's slowly getting, louder. So that's pretty cool, but that's pretty standard like DAW stuff. But you can do this in the distance sheet, as it's called. So say I want, when distance is 0, then I want this to not play at all. But say I get like closer to something and then it goes to 1, then I can have this be loud. So as you can hear, it's not playing. Then as I increase the parameter, it'll start playing. Now, one thing that you can do with this is you can layer different parts of music. So as you can see, I made a second audio track down here. Also, if in case you're watching this in the future, it's just brackets to zoom in, like right bracket to zoom in, left bracket to zoom out. You can also navigate with this bar at the bottom of the screen. Yeah. So say I want some swells that will go in, that will like come into my music. So what I do is I just play these at the same time. And right now, you'll be able to hear like those chords. And right now they're just playing normally, but you can automate them in the distance track by just going to the volume, right clicking, doing add automation, and then just adding in points. So now there's no swells, as distance increases, there are now swells. Yeah. So how can this actually, like, how can you actually trigger this in Unity? So what you want to do is once you have something like this, you want to hit F7 on your keyboard and it will build. It built really fast because this is a really small project. And then now we will go back to Unity and show how to sort of implement that. So as I was saying earlier, you need to actually like give Unity a path to the project or where the banks are built, which, sorry to keep switching back and forth, but I forgot to set where the banks are going to be built. So you can either just point directly to the project, or you can also export these banks to a specific folder. So what I like to do for Unity specifically is just export these into the assets folder. Is that right? Yeah. And then make a new folder, just call it FMOD. Open. Yes. Yeah. There are also some more settings in here. There's this thing called project platforms where you can build optimize for different platforms such as, you know, mobile, Xbox, etc. But again, if you're in GCS and you're building for Xbox, I will be very impressed again. So now when we build, oh, okay, I don't know what's going on there. Missing file. Let's just what did I do? Hold on. Okay, it's working now. I just redragged in the files, and then now in Unity we can just go to FMOD, edit settings, and then choose what sort of build we're doing. So if you have the whole project, then you want to choose FMOD Studio project. If you don't, then you will choose single or platform or multiple platform build. There's not that big of a difference. I'm going to choose single platform build for now. And basically, I just need to go into here. Oh, I see what I did. Okay, I accidentally exported the banks into a different directory within the actual FMOD project, not the actual Unity project. So make sure you don't do that. It might get mad at me again. Okay, we're fine. So now you can look in assets and then FMOD, and then you'll see the bank files in this folder. If you are doing a multiple platform build, you just want to just hit choose. But if you are doing a single platform build, you want to select this folder and then hit choose. Yeah. And then what people also are going to maybe get mad at you for is there's a debug overlay for FMOD to see like what the volume is, but you can disable that if you go to editor and then you just go to debug overlay and then hit disabled and it will be gone. You can have it back if you want later, but it's generally good to have it disabled. Cool. So now let's look at coding. Woohoo. Oh yeah. So there are actually ways to do this without coding, but it's a little more difficult to like finally control these parameters within FMOD. I'm going to briefly show what that is. You just hit add component within Unity and you go FMOD event emitter, and then this will now play an event. You can see here we have the test event, and then you can say like play it on object start if it gets hit by something, collision, etc. But I'm not going to go very in depth on that because I am going to show how you code things. Oh yeah, also I'm going to save and reopen this project because it's throwing the errors that it throws when you import FMOD. So scripts. Right now, I just have 3 scripts, one for controlling each circle. Yes. And I have this very simple script, which just prints out the X distance and Y distance between the 2 circles. So I'm going to add a start function, which is in Unity just fires when you start the actual game, or this, sorry, when this component starts existing, to be more exact, but basically it just fires right away. So how do you trigger an FMOD event? So with stuff like music, you want to keep track of the event so that you can stop it and you can start it whenever you want to, and you can do all sorts of other things to it. And to do that, you want to have an fmod.studio.event instance. And basically, when you start one of these events, it will give you back an event instance, which you then can store. So let's call this music. And it's, for those of you who don't really code, this is like outside of these brackets, which means that you can access it from anywhere within these brackets. And we are going to just say music equals fmod unity dot runtime manager create instance, and then we need to give it a path, and this path is going to be what it is, which is an event. There are other types of things you can trigger, such as buses and snapshots, but those are a little bit more advanced, so I'm not going to go into them unless I have time somehow. And then it's just the path within fmod, which is, we don't have any folders, so it's just test event. And also, I am going to quickly replace this with the snares layer because it's easier to hear. Yeah, so you can more clearly hear when things change. So once you have the music instance, then you want to just call music.start, and it will start playing. And then to stop it, you can do music.stop, and then you need to give it a fade out, which will tell it if it's allowed to fade out or not, which I will show you how to do that in a second. And also something that's important is that you have to do this thing called releasing, which might not make as much sense to you if you haven't coded very much, but you need to do and basically this doing music.release means that when this event stops playing audio, it will automatically delete the object. And that's just for like memory management stuff. So you can actually do this like right after you play. If you just know that you are going to not need this reference to the event instance. But yeah, so now if we just, if we just start this, the music is playing, woohoo. Cool. However, we are going to want to, change this parameter. So let's say that as these 2 dots get farther away from each other, the snare drum will get louder. So in the update function, which fires on every frame, we're just going to go if, oh yeah, I already have these variables. If X is greater than 4, we're going to set this parameter in our event. So how you do that is you just go music.set parameter by name, and then this parameter is called distance. So we just go distance, and then we give it a value, which in this case is the X, which is the distance between the 2 dots. Oh, and also I said it here that there's a minimum distance of 4. So we're going to just subtract 4 because remember, we want to feed in FMOD a number from 0 to 1 because this parameter is set from 0 to 1. And then we will say, you need to go to like 8 units away to actually get full snare drum. So let's go divided by 4 because this is going from 4 to 8, which is 4. 8 minus 4 is 4. That's how it works. I know I'm really teaching some crazy stuff here. And now
on your line 28 then if x is greater than
oh, good question. You don't, because if you give a value into FMOD that's outside of the range of the parameter, then it will just clamp it to the nearest parameter. So actually you don't need this this if statement now that I think about it.
Right.
Because if this is negative, then it will just set it to 0. So yeah. Now, if we hit play, oops. Okay, I didn't hear it there, which is a little concerning, but we'll see about that. It's 4 units. Basically, in Unity, there's like units, which are just like arbitrary boxes. It's not working, which is very sad. Live debugging. Well, this should you should hear snares when they are far apart. Am I getting any errors? I am getting errors. Okay, hold on. That's good. What? Okay. That's a Unity thing that I've run into. That doesn't have to do with FMOD, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. Oh. Okay. This also might be something a little weird. There was a warning and it just disappeared. So I don't know. Maybe I don't release it. Sorry for the live debugging, guys.
This is the faithful F1 learning experience.
Exactly. What is that? I don't know what that is. I literally did this yesterday and it worked perfectly fine. Exactly. So true. Thank you. What is that? Okay. You know what? I'm going to the project that I did yesterday because it worked there, and I will just comment out everything that I haven't done yet. This is probably a bad idea now that I think about it, but maybe I can just show it working and then I'll go back to the other one. New window. Okay, so what did I do differently? I capitalized music, but I don't think that's it. Wait. Oh no, this is stuff for later. Don't worry about that. Oh wait, hold on. You're probably kind of right. I think I forgot to build, which is very possible. So always remember to build, hit F7 in FMOD, and then when you go back to Unity, it will like regenerate the files basically. Please work. It's working. Okay, that was the issue. So as you can see in the bottom left corner, it's printing out the distance between these 2 dots, and then you can see as it approaches 4, then you can start hearing the snares. And then as they get to 8, now they're at their maximum loudness. And you can set this to whatever, whatever variables you want to. So yeah. Now I'm going to just show you some other things that you can do in FMOD. There is this thing called a logic track, which you use to loop music. So I say I want to do a loop region, then now this blue thing appears, and when I get to the, let me zoom in. When I get to the end of it, it just loops. Pretty self-explanatory. You probably want to put this on your whole track just because it's music, it should loop. There's also do I want to go into this now? Fine, I'll go into this now. Okay, so there are these things called destination markers. And say you want your music to jump around based on the value of a parameter, then what you should do is you just put a marker, you name it, let's say like jump. And then you can add a transition, which will jump to this marker. So down here, you'll see the settings for the transition, and then you can change like where it goes to. So just jump, and then you can just hit play and you'll see it jumps over there. So something you can do that's pretty cool about these transitions is that you can make them conditional based on parameters. So say you want it to only jump with if distance is greater than like 0.5-ish. Then now, yeah, so I hit, by the way, I hit add condition, add parameter condition, and then chose the parameter. And then I adjusted the range that basically is like we'll make it jump. Yeah.
How do you make sure that your jump is right on beat and not like halfway through saying loop?
Good question. So that's another thing that you can add up here is you can add a tempo marker. And then this tempo marker will basically just add in beats, etc. Yeah. And then things will be quantized to the beat. So now if you just hit jump, as you can see, distance is 0. So it won't jump. But if I go back and then I change distance to be over 0.5, it does jump. So you can use this to do stuff like you want to transition into a different version of the music because say like you got into a fight or something and you want it to jump to a more exciting version. So something that is useful for exactly that implement exactly that like situation is a transition region, because basically what these transition regions do is they will check at various points in the song. They will check your transition conditions, and then they will jump if they are true. So this will probably be less impressive because I didn't go to the version that has like different types of the music, but whatever. You can choose down here how often you want to actually check. So say I want to check every bar, then as you can see, all these little green lines came up. And then whenever I pass one of these green lines, then it will jump, it will check this trigger condition. And then if it's true, then it will jump to the marker. So let's set the destination to jump, add condition. And then say it's like, needs to be around like 0.6 or something. So now or when I get to 1, it will jump. Yeah, basically that's just useful for if you want to have transitions that are on beat, etc. All right. Let's talk a little bit more about parameters because I kind of glossed over that. So these parameters, you can have multiple per event, etc. These events can be continuous or discrete, meaning like they're discrete means they can only be like 1, 2, 3, etc. And continuous means they can be any decimal value. They can be local, meaning you have to do in your code, like you can set parameter by name and it'll be different for, say you have multiple instances of music. Or they can be global, meaning that the value is the same no matter what. Yeah, and then over here on that right side, you can hit this little button and you will get options for the parameter. One that's really important is seek speed. So seek speed will mean that when you set a parameter value, it won't be set to that value immediately. It will sort of glide over. So now that I set the seek speed, we can see that when I go over here and then say I set it to 1 in the code, then it gradually fades in the snares instead of just jumping. Something similar. Oh yeah, you can also make this asymmetric so it goes faster up and slower down, etc. You can also add velocity, which means that it just naturally sort of goes down. As you can see, it just goes down, but like if I set it to 1, it'll do the seek speed up to 1 and then it'll start falling down. Cool. So something else that you can do is you can add ADSR to your events, and ADSR is attack, sustain, decay, release. And if you don't know what that is, don't worry about it too much. Basically, all you need to know is you just right click on some sort of parameter such as volume, and then you just hit add modulation, AHDSR, and then you will have this little panel, and there's something that says attack and release, and those are the most important ones. And basically attack is like how fast something starts. So now if I play this event, it'll fade in. And that's due to the attack. So if I turn the attack all the way down, now it starts right away. If I increase that a lot, it'll start fading in. And you can also hear that it fades out, and that's the release. So if I turn the release up a lot, it'll fade out really slowly. And if I turn it down, then it'll stop right away. And earlier in the code, I mentioned this, but basically when you stop music, you can give it an option, or you have to give it an option to allow fade out or stop mode immediately, which basically means that it can't like fade out. Yeah. So that is the main music example. Now I'm going to go on to sound effects and then show a little bit more coding stuff. So yeah, I'm going to make a new event. I'm just going to call it SFX, and we are going to make a health up sound, because there's a lot of different things you can do with a health up sound. Let me check my notes, make sure I'm not like skipping stuff. Cool. All right. Let's go and let's add a timeline sheet. Also, by the way, there are other types of sheets like action sheets, but you can just pretty much use timeline sheets. Action sheets are in my opinion. Yeah, so let's just add an audio track. And then actually, my bad, I forgot. So for this health sound effect, the way that we're going to design it is we're going to say, okay, how much health are you gaining and how much health do you have right now? So, and it will sound differently depending on those two parameters. So say you gain a lot of health, then it'll play a different sound effect. And say you gain, say you're gaining health over a longer period of time, then as your health slowly fills up, then it'll start like pitching up, which will make it sound like it's filling up a cup or something. So let's make two parameters. Let's call this like health up, And then we can make this discrete. Actually, no, let's make this continuous. Let's say it's like from 0 to 10. And then we'll make another one that's is wait, what did I do? Hold on. Why is this called parameter 1? I'm gonna just delete this and try it again. Okay, whatever. This is called parameter 1 now. I'm gonna edit it. Yeah, health up. Cool. And now we're going to make another parameter that's like health total. And this is going to be on a range from 0 to 1, so that the coder can tell us like a percentage of how much health the player has. So what we're going to do is we are going to actually not need the timeline. We're going to also need to assign this to a bank. We are only going to use the health up and the health total sheets to achieve this. So we have two health sound effects. One of them sounds like this. And one of them sounds like this, which is for a lot of health. So we can drag both of these onto the timeline, and note that this is not, sorry, it's not the timeline, it's the parameter sheet. And this way we can say, oh, if they're filling up 7 or more health, then we will play the big health up sound. And if they are filling up 2 or more, then we are going to play the small health up sound. And if it's less than that, then we're not going to play anything at all. Because in the game that this is modeled off of, people regen health over time. So like, you don't really want to be firing off a sound effect every time that happens. Yeah.
So does FMOD pretty much handle all of the conditional logic for sound effects, or is there anything you still have to use if statements for in programming?
I mean, a lot of it is like you can do stuff in programming, or you can do it in FMOD. I think if you're like a sound designer, then you would probably prefer to do it in FMOD. But yeah, FMOD can handle a lot of conditional stuff, like not playing a sound effect if it's less than 2, etc. So now if I hit play, nothing happens, but if I set the parameter to be like 3, then it plays. Also, there's a little space at the beginning of that, so I can get rid of that by going down here and saying start offset, and increasing it to like 12, I think. And close enough. Okay, so also, something that may be confusing is that these things up here are not like technically like audio clips like you would think of them in a DAW. They're called instruments. So this is like a single instrument, and that means that when the playhead like touches it, it will just play the sound effect. So like if I press play and then scrub along here, it doesn't play anything because it's not really like a linear sound effect. There are also different types of these instruments. So say I wanted to do a multi-instrument. Oops, let me just delete this. Go to multi-instrument. Say I had like 2 sound effects for health up, which I don't have in my example, so I'll just reuse the other one. We can drag and drop those into the multi-instrument down here, and then now it will play one of them randomly. Oh, okay, there's only 2, so it's just doing that. You can do randomize and they will repeat. Yeah. There are lots of different settings that you can experiment with, such as like trigger conditions on instruments, like the instruments will only play with like a certain probability, or they'll only play if a certain parameter is somewhere. Yeah, so I'm going to undo all that and just get us back with these single instruments. Cool. Now for the total, we are going to do something similar to what we did earlier, and we're going to automate the pitch. So what we want to do is we want to go to this sound effect and we want to look down here. And for this instrument, there is a pitch slider. So if I slide this up, it's higher or lower, etc. So just like anything else in FMOD, you can modulate this or automate it. Something that you'll want to do with a lot of sound effects, not this one specifically, but to prevent them from getting stale from just repeating over and over, you want to right click on it and then go to add modulation and random, and then turn this knob up a little bit. And that way it'll pitch a little bit. And that'll prevent it from just like hammering the same sound into your ears, which can get annoying. However, we are not doing that. We are doing add automation. So, oops. So now this thing, this little automation track showed up, and we also want to do the same for the big health up. So let's do like, actually, let's not do that for the big health up. It already like increases in pitch, so we don't really need to do that. So let's go to health total now, and then we can modulate this based on the total health. That's probably too much. Yeah, so now with this automation, depending on how much health you have, it will sound differently. So yeah, so now as you gain health gradually, the sound effect will get higher. Yeah, so now let's see how you can do this stuff in code. I'm just going to do this in the start function so that it fires off immediately. With sound effects that don't have parameters, a lot of times something that is easier to do than this whole process is just go fmod unity dot runtime manager dot play one shot, and basically this will just fire off the sound effect with no parameters or anything, and it will then just get rid of the object. You don't have to save anything, etc. So now when I hit play, all right, just kidding. It can't find the event path because I forgot to build again. Let's go. All right. I didn't play again. I'm very sad. Oh, I know why that is. It's because it's not supposed to play anything because everything is set to 0. So let's drag this over so that it plays a sound effect no matter what. Now it's getting mad at me. What is this? What is that? What the heck?
Wait. Production didn't forget to build again.
Yeah, let's go. Let's go. All right. It played the sound effect. Woohoo. All right, but as you can see, we weren't able to like set the parameters on anything. So you're gonna have to do something similar to what we did before, where you just go fmod.studio.event_instance sfx equals then just the same thing, fmod.unity.runtime manager .create instance, and then the path. And then now you can set these parameters. So you can go just sfx dot the parameter by name, health up, and we're going to restore it by like a lot just for the sound effect. Actually, yeah, that's fine. And then just as a test for now, we're going to do sfx stop play. Start, and then sfx dot release so that it gets rid of the object once we're done with it.
You want to uncomment the music release as well?
Sure. It won't do anything with our current code because we don't actually stop the music ever. But yeah. Yeah. So that sounded like a lot of health that we just regen, guys. Similarly, we can do the same thing with the health total. And, you know, we're gonna have, oh, this is a scale from 0 to 1, so let's have like a good amount of health. This is not going to be that impressive because you can't hear the pitch shifting unless I do it multiple times. But that was different than it sounded before. So yeah. Now something that's important with sound effects is spatialization. Because if you're in a 3D game, then you want to hear, you know, sounds coming from your left or from your right. So what you can do to have spatialization is you want to go to your event, go to your master track down there, click and go to FMOD spatializer. And this will basically help you pan things to the left and the right. Let's see if this works. I can't really tell if it's working. Just like if you have headphones, this would work really well. Basically, on the right side of the screen, you can drag around where the sound effect is coming from so that you can hear it different directions, and how far away it is. You can definitely hear that as it gets farther away, it gets quieter. You can choose different curves for it to like drop off as you move away from the sound source. Yeah, and you can choose the envelopment options, which basically means like how much does the sound sort of envelop you, kind of. So like if it's to the left, do you hear it like only a lot in your left ear, or do you hear it a little bit in your right ear? And usually I prefer to have this like kind of big, just because it can be kind of weird if you're just hearing something only in your left ear. Again, you can't really hear this because of the room that we're in. But yeah, so now that we have this, there's an extra step that we need to go through when we actually trigger the sound effect. If we're setting parameters for it, then we want to go sfx dot wait, no, we want to go fmod unity dot runtime manager dot attach instance to game object, and then we can then put in the event instance, and we can put in a transform. So let's put in the transform of the red circle, so it'll sound like it's coming from the red circle. Again, you probably won't be able to hear this because of the room. But it theoretically would have come from the left. Something that you can do if you don't have these parameters is there's a function called fmodunity.runtimemanager.play one shot attached. And for this, you can basically just attach it, feed it in a game object, and it will sound like it's coming from that, as long as it has the spatializer down here on it. So yeah, let me look at my notes. All right, I am going to just quickly go over what some of these are. Okay, I'm gonna go over like 2 of these. Basically, event instruments are just other events that you can put within other events. And yeah, that's pretty self-explanatory. Another one is the scatterer instrument, which you can use to sort of generate a lot of sounds around you. Apologies in advance for what this is going to sound like. I didn't actually test this, but I know it's not going to sound great. Basically, this is like if you have a rain or something, you have like birds and environment, then it will create a lot of the sound effect instances all around you, which is very nice. Yeah, let me loop this actually, and then make it sound more horrible. So yeah, there's a lot of there's a lot of options here. Let's do like some pitch randomization so that it doesn't sound like extremely awful. Spawn interval, let's make it make it shorter. Scatter distance, so it'll sound like it's at different distances from you. There's also the spawn rate, so you can modulate all of these things depending on different parameters that you give to FMOD. Yeah, so scatter instrument, really good. Cool. Okay, that's like the main things that I wanted to go over. That's really what you need to know if you're making sound using FMOD. I will go over some more examples of some more advanced stuff, but feel free to leave. This was the FMOD talk. Woohoo. Hello. Yeah.
So there's in the scatter instrument, there's a pitch randomization like knob
Oh,
instrument.
yeah.
Is the modulation for pitch randomization, does that actually occur every time scatter or spawn an instance? Is it like for every?
I think it's modulating every time. Well, actually,
It's hard to tell.
no, I guess it is every time you trigger it. Yeah. It's just sounds different because it's like farther away from you. So thank you for pointing that out. Yeah, there you go.
Because I didn't know, so like for any normal instrument,
Mhm.
when you actually are using the randomization modulation,
Mhm.
is it only randomizing the value every time you the playhead like activates is over the actual instrument and triggers it?
Yeah, I think based on this, I'm pretty sure, yeah, that's how it works. Yeah, cool. Yeah. Yes, which is maybe something that I'll show an example of right now. Not really. I can't show like the whole example, but there are callbacks. If you remember these markers, if you remember these markers up here, you can actually trigger a callback when it hits the marker, and then you can make that like trigger functions, which is what I use for my rhythm game. Okay. Rip.
Is it called recorded?
Yeah, it was recorded.
Will it be posted somewhere?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, perfect. I knocked out because I've been running around all day. And
Oh yeah, no problem.
I want to learn.
This is like definitely something that I just want people to be able to reference back.
Yeah, okay,
Um,
perfect.
So yeah,
Yeah, thank you so much
cool.
for having this talk.
yeah. Yeah.
So for the help app, you basically place it, you go to that app, basically have all help like video discussion and big help and then
Yeah.
I noticed that the big help is really sound like that's a good. So would it be possible to have jump in this setup as well? Like, just have the big help sound big
Thank you for the talk.
so that
Yeah.
like it only plays the last third of the noise.
I think it is if you like automate the start offset, but the issue is that like these sounds like overlap each other. So if you just play like the last half of the sound, you're gonna hear part of the first sound, if that makes sense. Like if I put the start offset to be like, oh, what? Oh, I need to delete this. Yeah. I mean, it kind of works, but in most instances, it's better to just like,
Have your audio guy do the work.
Yeah.
Seriously, it's way easier to do that.
yeah, or you can just have like, something that you could do is you could have like, just like the first sound, the second sound, and the third sound with the same offset each time. And then you could go like make another audio track and then put this one on here and then do something like say these were like the first sound and the second sound. So now when you press play, when it's right here, then it'll play the first sound and the second sound. And then if you added a third one, like over here, then it would play all three of them.
Got it.
Yeah. Cool. I'll, yeah. So one of the benefits is definitely that like sound people who don't know how to code can use it. But another big good thing that I probably should have showed in retrospect is just how powerful the transition stuff can be. Because like for instance, here is like some forest music. So oh, I didn't go over transition regions, damn it. Okay, so basically this song has two versions. It has a calm version and it has a sort of excited version, right? And now just by setting one variable, I can know on beat that I'm going to transition to the scary version. Like in Unity, you can't really tell like where the beats are, etc. So now if I press 1, then it transitions on the downbeat of the music. So how that happened just now was with a transition region. And it basically jumped over to this part of the music. And then if I go out of danger, then it jumps to this transition like music part, and then it jumps back over here. And all of it is like on beat, which is something that is
really fun.
you can't really do with Unity. Yeah.
I was like thinking, why you just sing the two pieces perfectly.
Oh, yeah.
The times there when.
Yeah, I mean, you can do that probably, but like this is a lot better. Yeah, and there's also stuff like you wanna
I joined the game, but I didn't do anything.
there's stuff like you can that I didn't go into, like just actually sort of generating music. Let me go to the one for my rhythm game. So for this song, this is the intro. Oh, this is the intro to my game. And basically this will increase the tempo of the music and decrease it based on a parameter. So if I turn up this, it slowly gets faster, and I can also, slow it down. And the way that I can do that is that in all of this, it's like, thank you, appreciate it. Basically, there's like audio processing that's going on that you can't do in Unity. If you hear the synth sort of like pulsing, that's like that's live. It's called compression. It's live compression that's based on the bass drums that are being generated, and you can't really do that with Unity. Yeah.
But like,
We're all gonna be in like.
unless you're like changing it real time, you could always just like.
I mean, technically you could create like a plugin that does stuff. It's just a lot more effort. Like all in all, it's just like an add-on to make things easier. Yeah. Cool. This is good usage of scatter instrument because that's how it's increasing the tempo basically. It's just scattering. It's just generating the bass drums, and then I'm just modulating the spawn interval. Wait, I'm modulating the spawn rate to make them go faster. And then there's also like, yeah, and there's stuff like that.
How do you open up that chord?
Oh,
Like stacked chords or something?
yeah.
Just when it started playing, it was just like one note. And then
Yeah, so this is just, yeah, I have the fill percent parameter, and then these are all like one note,
Yeah.
and then I just put automation for all of them according to the fill percentage, so that,
Oh, cool.
yeah.
Different levels of automation for the trading.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes.
Incredibly
Cool.
satisfying.
thanks.
God, I love something.
Yeah, it's so good. Cool. I really should have showed the minion example, because that makes it a lot more like obvious
Yeah.
what you can do. I showed the transitions, like how to do them, but I didn't really show like what you
More
can do with
concrete
them.
as to like what you use it for.
Yeah.
Have you used transition timelines?
Yes, I forgot to talk about them because they're very important, but I guess I should probably talk about them just
Yeah,
for the
please.
recording, because I'm still recording.
You've been recording this
Um,
whole time.
I know. But I don't know, I can always, like, I'm sure you know how to use them, maybe.
Little bit, I just like, so. I just thought of something as you were talking about the transition time, like regions.
Mhm.
So like, for each one of those instances, if you wanna make the jump. I was like, well, what if I wanted to use a transition timeline to go from wherever it just jumped, if you're quantizing? Like for every quarter node, let's say, if you're quantizing to make sure to have it check the parameter to see if it wants to jump.
Yeah.
How would you use like a transition timeline for each one of those to make the transition smooth?
Yeah, so you can actually just have a transition timeline for these whole regions, and it will automatically just use it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so if you just go like add transition timeline, it'll just have one.
Nice.
So yeah. So now, now it's in the transition timeline, but I didn't do anything very interesting with it. Yeah. Yeah.
How would you make it consistent? Like sometimes I've done stuff where like I have risers and stuff that play in the transition timelines to like get to the next part.
Mhm.
How would you like sync that up if it's quantized in a different, like if you're quantized for a quarter note, like. I don't know if there's a way really to do that.
Oh, because you want to do it like you want it always on the downbeat, but like the transition might be on any quarter note? Or what?
Yeah, or something
Yeah.
like that.
So then I would probably, okay. I had an idea and then I realized the idea was wrong. The idea was to just make these happen every bar and then just have 4 of them and offset them a little. And then have a different transition timeline for all 4 of them.
Oh.
But the unfortunate thing is that these things don't get changed. Or sorry, when you shift these over, they don't actually change where the downbeat is, if that makes sense. Oh, there is an offset thing, actually. I just saw this once. Okay.
I remember reading about that. I can't remember what that does. Oh, I remember what that does. So
What?
That's really useful if you're like in a magnet region. So I made 2 magnet regions, one for game pause and one for game play.
Mhm.
And if you're in the magnet for one region and it actually really matters where the playhead is currently, you can essentially copy all of the looped regions and destination markers to the other magnet region, and it'll stay in the same position that it was in the other one. So like if it's halfway in the middle of the first magnet region, and like you have a parameter that's like snaps into the other one, it'll stay in that one area, so that when you come back, like it's playing in the same position that it.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never used that. I didn't even know this existed, so thanks. Cool. Yeah, life regrets not going over transition timelines and not showing this, but whatever, it's fine. Yes,
Oh, okay.
I mean, kind of, I don't know.
Yeah.
I can,
No, I mean the recording. You can keep.
oh, well, okay, I need to explain like one thing that I forgot to explain.
Oh, yes.
Okay, so basically there's this thing called transition timelines, and basically you can use this to make it so that things get crossfaded when you transition between them or stuff like that. So for instance, if I wanted to, wait, hold on, let me close this.
I'm heading out.
See ya. for instance, if you want, I'm just talking to the computer now. If you wanted to say, say there's a lot of reverb on here, there isn't, but pretend there was. If you wanted the reverb tail to like continue playing when you loop, because otherwise it would get like chopped off, then you want to do it would be add transition timeline, except I already have one. And then you have this transition thing, and basically you can drag like this is what came before and this is what came after. So now it will crossfade the reverb tail with the destination. Say you don't want it to crossfade at all, you just wanted to like them to both play at the same time, then you can just get rid of these crossfades and then it'll just play both of them. So now it's playing both ends of the audio file at one time. And you can do that with the transition like loops, etc., or the transition markers. Yeah, there's actually a way more efficient way that you can do this, which I learned last week. And that is that you can actually put audio inside the transition timelines. So like you can have like a stinger go off when you want to transition, etc. Okay, cool. That's my addition. We can edit that onto the end. Yeah.
Have you ever used Wise?
I have not used Wise. I should use Wise, but I'm like always on GCS projects. I'm like, oh no, I just gotta get it done.
This makes more sense for like smart scale projects, I
Mhm.
feel like, but I want to like get good at FMOD this semester, and then over the summer I want to learn Wise. Just 'cause, like,
Yeah.
that's the like.
That's the better one, kind of, but
This is like, this is an open source, but
No.
it's like community made, isn't it?
I don't think so. I mean, there's like on the forums, there's like developers and stuff and like QA managers. So I'm assuming that they're not. I think it's like a team of developers. And plus you have to pay to use it if you're making over a certain amount of money. So
Wise is actually now free for like really low budget stuff,
oh, nice.
which is cool.
It used to not be,
It
right?
used to not be.
Yeah.
It is now.
I was,
Because I feel like FMOD probably came in here, and was like.
yeah, probably.
And they're like, oh, probably has some competition.
Yeah.
Indie projects.
Yeah. Cool.
Thank you so much.
Mhm.
Oh, definitely refer to the coding side of stuff, and that's where I'm a real noob.
Mhm.
Because all of this stuff is so like dog-like, it's very easy.
Yeah.
But like the actual implementation to go.
Yeah.
I will get away with using as many event emitters as I need,
Mhm.
but like when I need to have like a frame by frame printer update, like that's when this is like really useful.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, something that's usually pretty good that I've done is just make like an audio manager script and just kept all the audio things. I don't know if you know like what a function is. No, okay, so
What do you mean function?
okay, so basically in coding, you have like this code block and basically this is called a function. So when someone else just writes like start, basically it'll run this code. So if I make another function down here and I just go like void test, oh, it doesn't like me because I didn't capitalize it. Oh, wait, no. No, this is right. Okay, and then I go like print something, then
It's like print and max just debugging this.
yeah, debug, this is Unity specific.
Yeah.
So now if I go up here and I go test, then it will run this code when it runs it here. So basically what you can do, if you set it up correctly, I might post like an audio manager example. That's probably what's good. That would probably help you the most because it helps me a lot because I just like copy paste things from what I've done before. Basically you can just have the script so that you can tell people like, hey, I just made this function that you can call from somewhere else in the code, and then all the internal logic will happen where you wrote it, but they don't have to see that or anything.
Okay, so like so you have like an actual script for the audio.
Mhm.
So you don't have to like use other scripts. But so the thing I learned the other day is that like you have different in the assets folder, you have different assembly files. In order for FMOD, like this is like the event emitter scripts, and in order for them to actually reference the other like scripts for the objects and stuff in Unity, you have to do something like in the code to reference the assembly file in Unity.
Wait, sorry, we're trying to do what? Can you repeat like what it,
I can't entirely remember exactly what I was trying to do. I was following the if you've done the card mini game, FMOD.
haven't actually. I did a different one, but
There's other ones. I want to try to do all of them. So like but
yeah.
the code, I was just it was they're like copy paste this in the thing. It was like whatever you call it. I
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah. And just copy paste everything, but I don't know. Hopefully this part made sense.
Yeah.
No,
it seems just like memorizing functions.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, this didn't seem too bad. I think like doing stuff in Max, just like following some sort of like logic, signal flow, may like help my understanding for this. And stuff like
Yeah,
that.
that's my
Have to
hope.
learn the specific functions, like what they do, and how to format certain things. Oh, by the way,
Yeah.
0.6 F, is that the F just float?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's just I think it'll get mad at me if I, yeah, it will.
Also, what coding program is this?
This is called Rider. It's made specifically for C#. It has really good Unity stuff. Like Visual Studio Code is the most like all-purpose one.
That's the one I just installed.
Yeah, I was on Visual Studio Code for like the past 3 years, and I just last semester, Rider. Yeah, last semester I did Sea Lion, and I was like, wow, this is awesome for like C++ stuff. And then this is like the same company but for C#.
Okay.
So
Does it like give you like what advantages does it provide? Just like
you can debug really easily, like pause the execution of the Unity thing, if that makes sense, and then like look at what the contents of different variables are, and like this variable right now is like you can like pause it in the middle of executing code. You can sort of do that in VS Code with some other like plugins and stuff, but this is way more consistent. There's also just like tools like I want to make this variable be just like a different variable. And yeah, whatever. Just ignore that. Yeah, it was a little terrifying to me too. Yeah, you can rename stuff in Unity, but hey, oh, okay. So basically, yeah, like what that just did is it replaced every time you have this SFX, it just replaced it with what it's equal to. I don't know. It's just good. Yeah, I ended the recording.
It's ready, can you send it to us in like exactly?
Yes,
So.
Also grabbing food.
And then I'll add times.
I already ate, but I can still tag along.
That's fine.
Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah.